So how do we read the Bible? Well, I would suggest that if we understand, as we do, that the Bible is inspired, that it's the way in which God reveals who He is to us, a good place to start is to pray. A good place to start is simply to pray that God would open your hearts to what you're reading, that God would reveal Himself to you through the words that you're reading. So don't rush in, but just take a bit of time just to pray before you get there. And then also realize that the different translations that are available of the Bible now are enormously broad in their ease of reading. You see, the Bible is written in Hebrew and in Greek, very different languages to ours. And there have been many translations made into English over the years, beginning famously, or at least beginning majorly, with the King James Bible. But pick that up now and you'll find that there's words and phrases in there you'll struggle with. So try and find a translation you're comfortable with. Some translations try and be a bit more literal, like the English Standard Version. Some translations try to be less literal, but try to be easier to read, like, say, the Good News Bible. Try and play around with some of these translations to find something you find easy. Don't just rely on that King James Bible you were given at your christening, because actually you may find it difficult to read. But if you don't, great, crack on. Then also be aware perhaps of some of the aids or helps that there are out there to help you read the Bible. These are things with little maps in to tell you where places are. These are things that might give you little timelines to help explain what sort of era we're living in. They'll have charts, little plans of Jerusalem, say. These are study Bibles. And the idea of study Bibles is to help give you some of the background to the text that is there as well. Now, I tend to like the English Standard Version Study Bible, the ESV Study Bible, or there's a Reformation Study Bible, or the New International Version has study Bibles. There's loads around, but they're there to try and help you to get to grips with it. It's not vital by any stretch, but it's a way of turning the colour up a bit. It's a way of helping you just to get a feel for what is going on at the time. And then when you're reading the Bible, try and be a bit aware of the kind of book of the Bible you're reading. The Psalms are written as poetry. When you read through them, you'll see that the lines are often in couplets, they're in pairs. Well, read them as poetry. Allow them to speak and conjure up images. But when you're reading through, say, the book of Kings, you're dealing with history there, but you're looking to try and see how God is acting in that history and how the people are relating to God in that history. Or you might be reading through some of the imagery of the prophet Isaiah. Well, you're trying to understand the pictures that he's conjuring up, and perhaps you're asking yourself, how are these fulfilled in Christ? You read the Gospels. What is Jesus doing? The miracles that he works, how do they tell us about who he is and what his nature is? Or you're reading Paul's letters, which even St. Peter says are difficult to understand in places. Well, you try and get to grips with what he's saying. And then you perhaps use the opening prayers as a bit of a key to unlock the rest. Why? Because when Paul prays at the beginning of the letters, he's telling us the things on his heart, the things that he's going to work out in the rest of the letters. Or when you're reading through the book of Revelation, just allow the imagery to inform you. Don't try and get too caught up in the detail, but read through in a sitting even and see what you make of the great imagery that is there. The books of the Bible are different in what they try to achieve, but they do have this unified theme. But for all of this, the most important thing is that when you sit down to read the Bible, pray before you read, and pray that God will speak to you through the words that you've read.